Welcome to Blade HQ, everybody. We have just finished up our National Knife Day sale, and I am exhausted, but we're gonna talk about new knives anyway, because that's what we do here. Let's talk knives. First knife on the table is the new Blade HQ exclusive Toor Knives Viper. And the exclusive part of here is we have a D2 blade and an Ultim handle. And I think Ultim's a really great application here because Ultim is a material that doesn't really take any corrosion or heat damage or anything. So if you're gonna carry this every single day, your sweat isn't gonna cause it any problems. It's not gonna get embedded like micarta might. And it's quite lightweight and it's gonna resist wear very nicely as well. So it's gonna be a great material to just grip onto and do all your self-defense stuff. Or I even think this is a great everyday carry fixed blade in general because look at this blade. It's quite a bit thinner and slicier than a lot of the Toor knives and a very nice, precise tip. So I'm thinking like you can open your packages, slice stuff. It's not gonna be a problem at all, but it also is a great last ditch self-defense tool. Check them out at bladehq.com. They're going for $195. The blade is a very short one, 2.75 inches and 6.875 overall. So it's gonna be a nice and concealable knife as well. And look at how slim this Kydex sheath is. You put that in, and you could do this in the pocket, inside the waistband, maybe horizontal. There's a million ways that you could conceal this knife. So if you're looking for something that is gonna be easy to pack away, that you're gonna forget's there until that unfortunate moment that you might need it, this is a great knife for it. Next up from Beyond EDC, we have one of the most unique knives I've ever seen. And it is this guy right here. This is the pneumatic actuator. So, for lack of a better word, I would call this an assisted knife, but it's not spring assisted, it's piston assisted. So look here, you see as I move the blade like that, you see that piston moving? This is a pneumatic system, so air is assisting the blade open and closed here. And then it has this very interesting lock where it kind of bends out of the frame. It almost reminds me of the Scorpion lock that Andrew Demko makes, but it isn't quite. But it is such an interesting knife. It's one of those knives where the mechanism is sort of a piece of art in itself. It's like, how does somebody integrate a piston mechanism into a knife? And they came up with this, and I think it's a really creative idea. I don't know that it's my favorite mechanism, but I do have a lot of respect for it. And one thing I will say with complicated mechanisms is they do generally command a bit of a price. So these go for $270, but that gets you that 3-inch blade made of M390 steel, and it's 7.25 inches overall. Really an interesting knife. And some people love to collect interesting knives. Metal Complex comes to mind. His shorts are basically, check out these weird knives that I have, and I love watching them. I think this is one that would be right up his alley. If you're looking for a knife that you can hand to somebody and they'll just think, wow, what in the world? This is the one. Next up, new from Smith & Sons, we have the Vaquero. And these are like camping, hiking, hunting fixed blades. And this one's got the burlap micarta handle and a D2 blade, USA made. And look at this interesting blade shape. I would almost call that a trailing point. I guess we say, the test I always do is I lay it on the table like this, and if there's a gap under here, like if you can see my marker here, that means it's a trailing point, but it's a trailing point that's angled forward. So it kind of gives you the blade access of a drop point, but the slicing power and the tip precision of a trailing point. So I'd see this as a great like camping, hunting, fishing crossover knife. It can do it all. And this leather sheath is super nice. Got a nice painted burnished edge and I love the smell of leather. It's so good. And these are really nice. And then you put it in, and they used a fairly stretchy cut of leather. I was talking to Theo recently, he's a bit of a leather nerd, and he was saying that the stretchy leathers come from parts where the cow is breathing, and that stretchiness is just a teeny little bit, allows you to get a very positive snap on there, and that knife is not coming out, and it is bound rather tightly, which I really appreciate here. A very high quality fixed blade. You're gonna pay for it, it's $240, but it is the kind of fixed blade that you can throw on your belt and you can carry for an entire lifetime of outdoor guiding, adventuring, etc. And it'll be ticking on day 1 million as well as it did on day 1. Next up on the budget side, we have the new Blade HQ exclusive Boker Kalashnikov flipper. So it has a button lock just like the other Kalashnikov did, except this one's a manual. And the big appeal here is the Kalashnikov is, as an automatic at least, one of the most popular things we've ever sold at Blade HQ because it's affordable, it's well built, it just keeps on ticking, it's ready for a lifetime of hard use. But it's automatic, which means a lot of our friends on the West Coast and other places can't get them. But Blade HQ thinks of you and remembers you. So if you loved that Kalashnikov, but it was illegal in your area, first of all, we're sorry. You're welcome to move here to Utah. We can carry anything we want here. It's the promised land. But this one is a fully manual version. So you can get that flipper action, gonna be easy for you to carry anywhere that automatics are restricted. And the other big update is it has a different pocket clip. Instead of the big sort of ridged pocket clip you find on the regular Kalashnikov, this one's a lot smaller and more subdued, so it doesn't call quite as much attention to itself. But a very exciting knife, just as tough and reliable as its automatic counterpart, but this one's a fully manual one with a flipper and a button lock, which is all the rage right now. Got a 3.3-inch D2 blade, an aluminum handle, 7.6 inches overall, just that perfect everyday carry size, fills out the hand just right. I love it. And then last on the table is the knife we've all been waiting for, is the Flightanium Arcade. These are going for $199, and let me tell you a little bit about this thing. So first of all, up here on the blade, we have S35VN, which is one of my favorite blade steels. S30V came out, it was a giant collaboration between a ton of cool knife makers, and it was specialized for edge retention and corrosion resistance. S35VN dials back the edge retention a little bit in exchange for a lot more toughness, making for, in my opinion, one of the most well-balanced blade steels you can get. This is the first non-Demco knife to feature the shark lock, which is really fun, super fidgety. We have a new coworker here named Zach, and Zach personally cannot handle this knife because he thinks this is a flipper. But I think once he gets it in his head that this is the lock, he's gonna love this thing. It's gonna be his new favorite knife. And yeah, I really appreciate it. The anodized aluminum handle is great. And this one has these yellow inlays, but the inlays are swappable. Personally, I think this thing looks like a tennis ball. I told my buddy Brian that. He's like, I think it's great. So a lot of people do like the tennis ball vibe, but I'd probably swap this out, maybe do a black titanium inlay. And that's the thing about this. Most of the parts are exchangeable. You can change the thumb studs out. They're compatible with any Benchmade thumb stud, including the aftermarket ones with the tritium inlays, just the ones I like. You can get a bunch of different handle inlays. They come in micarta, G10, titanium. There's even some Timascus and Mokume Gane. Those are exciting. You can change out the back spacer and the barrel spacers for whatever. You can do titanium, anodized, coated, whatever. It's a very customizable knife, and you can definitely build it to your own specs and choose your own knife adventure with this one. And even if you don't want to customize, it's really just a great knife. A 3.2-inch blade, so just that perfect everyday carry size. A very nice overall length of 7.7 inches, and S35VN is such a good steel. $199 starting if you want the black coated one, and if the Ultim handle, it'll be a little bit more. But genuinely speaking, I think this is a great knife for the price, especially if you're looking for a one knife option. The lock is plenty strong enough to handle all your camping adventures, but it's small and slim enough to be an everyday carry knife. If you're looking for one knife to carry for the rest of your life, you would be hard pressed to pass on this guy right here. Anyway, thank you all for joining us today. I think that's a wrap. We'll see you next time.